All right, we've got 2 awards left. The next one is our Humanitarian Pioneer Award, and this is going to Judy Heumann. Paralyzed from polio at 18 months, Judy's struggle for equality began early in life, from fighting to attend grade school after being described as a fire hazard, to later winning a lawsuit against the New York City school system for denying her a teacher's license because of her paralysis. Judy's actions set a precedent that fundamentally improved rights for disabled people. She's worked with the Carter administration in pressuring them to implement protections for disabled people. She has served in the Clinton and Obama administrations and was a senior fellow at the Ford Foundation. Her story was featured in the Oscar-nominated documentary Crip Camp, A Disability Revolution, and Wendy has a really hilarious story of how she met Judy, so I'll let her tell it.
So Judy Heumann, right? It cracks me up. But you know how people get obsessed with celebrities? And they're like, and they get like, they follow them in the whole thing. Well, during COVID, I watched probably about 100, and I have a list if anybody wants them, just ask me, of movies over 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I love documentaries, and they're only positive ones. So I don't watch anything negative. No one gets murdered or anything, and everything is just to inspire, right? And I saw this one called Crip Camp, and I'm like, oh, I don't like the artwork. I was like, that doesn't look interesting. And then I looked up on Rotten Tomatoes. It was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. 100%, like perfect. And I was like, I gotta watch it. I have to tell you, everyone's gotta watch this movie, Crip Camp. It was Oscar nominated, produced by the Obamas, and it's literally about Judy. And so I stalked Judy, literally. I found her. Did I not find you? That's so funny. No, it's true. And literally, I'd love to say this. Judy Heumann, I think she didn't know it was coming when I found her. And literally, because of Judy, she was part of Women's Entrepreneurship Day, the virtual one, and that we decided, she was talking about disabled women, and we decided, oh my gosh, we're gonna help disabled women in entrepreneurship, right? And so Judy was the one who put that in my head, and I called up one of our phenomenal board members, Lorene Arbus, who is here today, woohoo, who received the Women's Entrepreneurship Day Pioneer Award for being literally the first woman in programming of TV. And really an incredible human. And Lorene, without a flinch, said, I want to fund that. And so we then decided that we would go on this journey to fund the first ever Women in Disability Startup Cohort. And she introduced us to Diego. Woohoo! And now their organization literally took this idea and the funding and has created one of the largest movements to support disabled women in entrepreneurship. Woohoo! And typical Judy, we go to her, right? And so Judy, thank you so much for being here.
Well, I think it's very fair to say that you did stalk me. I didn't know who you were. And I've been speaking to a lot of people because of the movie and my book, Being Human. And I'm like, who is this woman? And she invited me to do this virtual event. And it was an amazing experience. And then when she called and said, we have a donor who's interested in putting funding into disabled women entrepreneurship, my friend Diego, who's over here, has an organization that's been working in entrepreneurship for disabled people. And he successfully was able to get the funding, and now they are doing their second cohort of disabled women entrepreneurs. But what I really would like to say is the reason I'm here and not up on the stage is, shockingly, that the UN doesn't have a ramp to get on this stage. So I think I have a pretty simple message for everybody, particularly those of you who are focusing on issues around women. Some of you, I'm sure, have invisible disabilities. I don't know if you speak about them, but I think it's really important that those of us with disabilities really come out from behind the shadow and talk about our disabilities, whatever they may be, mental health disabilities, learning disabilities, diabetes, on and on and on, because the movement is so very important. When, Trevor Noah, in an interview that I did with him on The Daily Show, used the word able-bodied. I don't use the word able-bodied because to me it's an ableist term, meaning that non-disabled people are trying to put words about who we are. And we use the term disabled people, people with disabilities. And when he used the word able-bodied, I said, well, I use the word disabled because you're going to have a disability temporarily or permanently in your life. That's just like a given. And he said to me, are you threatening me? And, at first I was like, whoa. But then I thought, it is the right word, because non-disabled people do feel threatened by disability. You think, oh my God, how could I live my life like that person? And that's really, when we look at issues around women and entrepreneurship, I think it's a very important issue, because women without disabilities, people have not invested in the work that we're doing because we haven't been considered capable of running our own businesses. And now work like Wendy and all of you are doing is demonstrating that's wrong. So one of the reasons why it was so great when Laureen was willing to invest in this is to be able to bring the voices of disabled women entrepreneurs to the forefront. So the other thing that I would like to say to all of you is, in addition to if you have a disability, think about coming out. But it's really to look at, in the work that you're doing, not just within your companies, but within your families, in your day-to-day lives, when looking at issues of human rights and justice and equality, really look at whether or not you have a ramp onto a stage. As simple as that may be, but it's much more intrinsic. And I really love Wendy's energy. I wish I could do her woohoo as she does it. But I want to thank all of you and all of the wonderful women that I'm being honored with. And for me, the only way that we really move our movement forward is to look at who we are including, but who we've been excluding, consciously or not, and look at what we can do to open the door and allow people to see that all girls and women, wherever they are, have the right to equality, and that we really have to be leading that. So thank you.